friends, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today, and Happy New Year. This is going to be a pick a pile reading for what's new in 2022. So as you can see, I have 10 decks here ready to create 3 piles for you to choose from. And as always, I will speed up the shuffling process, but I like to film it so you can see me creating the piles. And the timestamps will be available below for you to select your pile, and I'll also show you a picture. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to get started with shuffling, and I have decks here that I think are going to really round out the picture. I've got spirit animals here. I have archetypes. I have angel answers, angel guidance, archangel guidance, career, love. I have a whole bunch of decks here, and of course tarot. So we can try to round out a nice picture for you for 2022 in this very special pick-a-pile. Okay, we'll see you soon. Okay, my friends, here are the 3 piles, and the timestamps are below for you to select which pile seems to resonate for you, and I'll see you in the readings for each of the piles. Okay, welcome to your reading pile 1. If you selected pile number 1, then this is your reading. Okay, let's flip over your cards and see what 2022 holds in store for pile 1. We've got a nice selection of cards here to try and give us a full picture of what we can expect for 2022 as we start off the year. Just to have an idea of what's happening here. Okay, let's have a look here. Now, I think I'm going to start with the archetype card here. So the archetype you received, pile 1, is the rescuer archetype. So that makes me wonder if you tend to be the one to provide strength to others, or do you tend to be the one that swoops in to make sure that people have what they need? These are acts of love that you perform, perhaps without expecting a reward, or perhaps this could be a shadow attribute here where it tends to keep people in a needy place when there is a rescuer in their life. And it's interesting because what you received for the love message was the message here of codependency. And so this is intriguing. Addictions are affecting your romantic life. So you're feeling codependent, perhaps on a person, place, or thing. And perhaps it is a codependency on rescuing people. This is very interesting combination of cards here. The rescuer archetype with the codependency love message makes me feel like you tend to rescue those you love. And sometimes that can create a codependency on one another, right? So they may depend on you to rescue them, and you may depend on them to receive that reward, that inner reward of helping someone. This is very interesting. You also received with respect to career and life purpose, you received the children card, which says here your life purpose involves helping, teaching, and healing children. So I think whoever picked pile 1 here is definitely a very loving person who wants to be of service to others. You are wanting to be of service to others, and this is interesting. It could create a bit of a rescuer / codependent vibe when you're helping people, because of perhaps you need to question whether or not there is a deeper issue here for you, pile 1. What is behind your service to others? Is it pure, or is there a motive attached to it? Is there something you're sublimating by serving others? This is very interesting. With respect to the archangel presence here, we received the angel of silence. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. Shatiel. This archangel descends in stillness. Okay, and here we see space filling with silence, and the void gains new meaning. This is an archangel that brings us this message of silence and stillness, which is very fitting for the northern hemisphere because this card depicts a wintry scene, and it is indeed winter here. So here, this archangel is guiding you to take a moment, take the silence within you, and to do away with the idea of fear. Okay, in the sense that fear is useless, and its presence is only as consuming as we allow it to be, right? So as much attention as you give to the fear, that's how that fear grows. And it's really interesting. All of your messages here are pointing you towards examining perhaps this idea of your why, your what, but to do so in a place where you are remaining positive. So not allowing that fear to creep into those moments of silence when you're being very reflective, to try to understand the path that has led here and what is to come. It almost feels like you're being guided to have some reflection time here as we start off 2022, so that you can have complete awareness, right? And the idea here is to transform through stillness. And we certainly have messages of transformation here with this butterfly spirit. So through the butterfly spirit, the message says here, transformation is beautiful, and it's card number 11. So this is very interesting. This is a master number 11 of the guidance to speak of transformation. And so I really feel like pile 1 is transforming who they are. Perhaps they're no longer going to allow others or themselves to form codependent relationships here that might not be actually serving, but could be feeding an insecurity that lays beneath the surface. You know what I mean? Now let's grab these other cards. Okay, and the children card makes me feel like whoever I'm reading for here in pile 1, you are a kind soul that really wants to serve others, but I feel like perhaps there's a wound here that needs your attention through silence so that you can transform beyond this perhaps cycle of codependency. We also have the Ace of Pentacles here. So there is a new beginning that you're being guided to work toward. The codependency card also speaks of addictions. So there could be something that you're using to sort of create an artificial sense of silence, like a substance or a person, certain relationships. It's interesting. But you are being guided to remain positive as you transform and sort of heal whatever is at the root of this. And when I see that children card, that makes me think that this could have been something that started when you were a child. And maybe that's why you're being guided to work with, teach, or heal children, because perhaps your inner child needs a new start. Your inner child needs a new start so that it's not codependent anymore on substances, people, experiences. You're being guided to transform here through a moment of silence. So gathering yourself, gathering your thoughts, but to sort of make sure you're conscious of when the ego and fear are guiding you, rather than you guiding your own transformative process here by remaining positive and not giving way to the fears, but almost acknowledging the fears so that they don't have power, right? To really strip them away. Now, the last 3 cards you got here are probably going to be the most telling. The first card you received here is pertaining to merging with the divine. This is the Lumerian Oracle deck. So this card is all about transcendence, letting go, and really bridging between the spiritual and physical realms. So this is a time here, it says merging with the divine soul star chakra. This makes me feel like you are really being guided to clear anything that no longer serves you, including dependencies on people, experiences, substances, including creating this people-pleasing vibe through the rescuer archetype to really, connect more to the divine here in order to understand your transformation in 2022 and expanding your awareness beyond your fears, beyond your dependencies, even sometimes beyond the paradigms that we have been sort of taught to accept in the physical world. You know what I mean? And I think that's why you're receiving this remain positive message is that, fear has never yielded anything but more fear, right? And so it's interesting. You're being guided to keep your vibe really high, to raise your vibration and to really have some stillness and meditate on the idea that things could be potentially happening here to serve a greater purpose. And so there's no reason to have fear of this transformation. You are being guided to let go and to seek out whatever is the truth behind your dreams here for the year, and to not feel like your worth is dependent on whether or not you can save someone. I feel guided to say that to you as well, that it's not about your value isn't just about your service to others. You have value just by being you. And I feel like that's an important thing to say here. You received the deity here, Hanuman. Okay, so his message is really all about courage. He is the god of courage, the deity of courage, which represents sort of this potential that we have to unslave ourselves from our thoughts and our fears and our mind. This deity really symbolizes having an awareness, first of all, having the courage to have the awareness of the truth. So really suspending your fears, really having some idea about what your thoughts are, not letting autopilot run. I always think that Hanuman comes in to help us tame our minds. He is the monkey, right? And you may have heard that expression in Buddhism of monkey mind, where when you can't control your thoughts and your mind is like a monkey literally jumping all over the place, you can become a slave to those kind of thoughts. And so when we release our thoughts and we practice a meditative state of stillness, you are being guided back to stillness here. There's too many thoughts going on for pile one. Pile one needs to almost release those thoughts somehow by letting go and sort of noticing that these thoughts are really coming from outside forces, such as your childhood. We brought up the inner child. These could be old paradigms and frameworks running through your mind that no longer serve you and maybe never served you. They were just sort of given to you and you took them because we do that. We take things in as children as truth. But this is a time for you to really look upon yourself to understand your own truth. And that already exists within you. And all you have to do is sort of remember it through stillness. And it's that idea of becoming your higher self is really not becoming anything. It's more about forgetting all of the things you were told to be. It's a nicely phrased message about, I think it actually starts by saying perhaps realizing your higher self is not about becoming something, but unbecoming all of the things that you were told to be. And I feel like that is part of your truth here. And there is a vibe about worthiness in this reading coming from, there's an idea about whether or not you were told what worthiness meant when you were a child, and maybe you internalized that to believe that somehow unless you're of service you're not worthy. And unless you're rescuing people, you're not worthy. And I feel like you're being guided to transform out of that. Now, the final card you received here is from the Kabbalah deck, and it is the letter Vov, V-O-V, which is a message here to sort of never imitate. Okay, this is a card of authenticity. This is a card to say there is never a need to seek to imitate the spiritual path of another. It's a fulfilling moment when it's your own path. And so there's this idea here that you're really being guided to understand yourself in 2022, my dear Pile 1. You are really being guided to sort of understand who you are and how each day that you are here, you are part of an interconnected process with everyone else, but yet you are separate in the sense that your spiritual journey will not look like anyone else's spiritual journey, Pile 1. So there's really no point in imitating anything here or being overly codependent on someone else's vision of spirituality. You're being guided to connect to your divine connection, to your story, through stillness and transformation, and through this message of gaining your own truth, which already exists within you. You're a unique expression. We all are. We are all unique expressions of the divine, right? We are all divine in matter. We are expressions of the divine in matter. And so we are all the same in that way, right? When you take it to that level, we are all the same. However, in our similarities, we are unique expressions of that divine source. And so there is this idea of this Kabbalah card really is guiding you to be authentically you and to sort of look at the power that you give and take in your relationships with others. And that is guiding me back to this rescuer card, because it makes me feel like, unity is not about rescuing people that you're expecting a reward from, or that you sort of need people to need you. That's not it. That's not it. The idea of service to others here is to do so because you've understood what your truth is. And your truth, if it has a service to others to it, that wants to be expressed authentically and uniquely, not as a sort of carbon copy of someone else's path. And so it's a very interesting message here for you to sort of be responsible for your actions and your inactions, all the while understanding that your intention matters here. And so I feel like that is what you were being guided to look at here. And it will be transformative, Pile 1, to sort of assess your intentions and your actions, and to look at them without judgment, but to understand the truth when it comes to your motivations and your actions, right? This Ace of Pentacles makes me feel like you're going to have a new start in 2022. And so make it new. Make it new. Don't just repeat all the same stuff and expect something new to happen. This to me is a card that signifies persistence and determination towards something. So it involves your efforts. There are efforts here. And I feel like you're being guided towards the stillness and meditation because you are transforming. There is a part of you that is dependent on certain things, when really all you need to depend on is yourself. Your truth is within, Pile 1, and it always has been. And so I feel like maybe along the line, somewhere in the childhood, there was some paradigms taught to you as truth. But I feel like you're discovering those are not true for you. You know, everyone's journey is different. It will never be like someone else's because we're all here for different expressions, right? We're all different representations of divine energy and source energy. And much like the deities that we see in Hinduism, they all give us an aspect of the divine. Just and it's very similar to us. We represent an aspect of the divine, and you're being guided back to that source to understand your truth. Pile 1. Wow. I'm going to leave it at that for you. If this has resonated, you would like a personal reading, my email is in the description below, along with a listing of readings that I currently offer. And as always, thank you so much for liking, subscribing, and watching. We'll see you again very soon for another reading. Sending you lots of love and light, pile 1. To your reading, pile number 2. If you selected pile number 2, this is your reading. Okay, let's lay out your cards and see what messages you've received here from these 10 different decks. Okay, let's have a look here for you, pile number 2. First card I want to start with is the archetype card. You received the Exorcist. Very interesting. Now, the light attribute of this archetype is the idea of freeing yourself from destructive impulses. The shadow of it is facing your, having fear of facing your own demons. So this idea is either I'm going to face my demons and I'm going to free myself of anything that is destructive, or I'm going to sort of be afraid of facing that and I'm just going to stay put and allow there to be a presence of fear in my path here, a fear of my own demons. So it's almost like a fear of yourself here and your impulses or your motivation, or the fear of things that lie in the shadow here. So you have the option. Always, you have the free will here. You have the option of either freeing yourself from those destructive impulses or to sort of sit in fear of them. Now, the interesting thing here is that you also received trusting your innocence and the Queen of Swords. Now, these two cards here make me really think that you must listen to your intuition, which is exactly what this angel card says. Listen to your intuition. So when it comes to facing down things that are in the shadows, you are being guided to sort of increase your vibe here to a place where you feel certain about yourself, like the Queen of Swords, right? The Queen of Swords is really the energy of certainty and this idea of getting to it, being honest about stuff, and in a sense, sort of being really direct about it with yourself in this case. So really being direct with yourself once you've listened to your intuition. I feel like the Queen of Swords here, she steps in with her intellectual savvy and her ability to sort of come to a quick conclusion because she knows herself, right? The Queen of Swords is sure. She has a lot of certainty. She can be a bit judgmental. So you must watch that line in the sense of when you're doing work with yourself and you're facing down your shadows, are you judging them, right? So you could be seeing the Queen of Swords for that reason as well. But really, I find the Queen of Swords to be an inspiration to get to it and to be honest, to really not deny any truth to the self. And so if you're doing some self-work and you're being guided to listen to your intuition, I feel like the Queen of Swords will get you to the bottom line very quickly. But, you know, she might do so in a way that involves a bit of judgment. So it's interesting to see that balanced with the idea here of trusting your innocence, which could be taken as a message of balancing out that Queen of Swords energy with your intuition and your truth, your innocence. Now, this is from the Lumerian Oracle deck, and it really is a card of trusting yourself and knowing the difference between intuition and paranoia, which is, I think, kind of the point here for you, Pile 2, is that we don't want things to get muddier. We want things to get clear. So you're being guided to really trust your intuition and return back to that innocence that you held when you knew deep down what was yes and what was no, without this confusion of fear, right? Fear can be very confusing, and there can also be this sort of denial or judgment. So you're being guided away from denial and judgment so that you can distinguish your true inner guidance from this idea of fear, right? What's guiding you? Is it your intuition or is it your fear? Is it your innocence or is it fear? You know what I mean? And it's interesting. Are you judging this process? You might be, because that Queen of Swords, although she does get down to business, she can be sort of judgmental as she does that, and a little bit like to the point and very direct. So I feel like you're almost being guided to trust your intuition and your sense of yourself without fear. And to really be mindful of that fear playing with you. Now, it's interesting here because we do have a panther spirit coming in as your spirit animal, asking you to reclaim your power. So this is a time where you're really being guided in 2022 here, Pile 2. Notice the number, that's 44, master number. You really are being guided to trust your intuition. The 4-4 number always makes me feel like I can trust what's going on and not be afraid. So whatever's going on for you, it could involve a lot of shift. It could be involving a lot of changes, and it could be involving you doing some self-work here. And so really reclaiming your power so that you're not fearing what's going on, but you're trusting it. You're trusting that it's all for your development and evolution here, and that fear will always bring in more things to fear. So really reclaiming your power outside of that fear dynamic is part of the big guidance here for pile number 2. Now, the archangel message you received here is the angel of mysteries, Raziel. I'm not very good at pronouncing these these archangels' names. He is the keeper of truth. Okay, so all the knowledge and truth lands here. And so this is a time when really we must proceed with the truth. Okay, and it's sort of a time you're being guided here by Raziel to flip through this book of mysteries and really to understand your truth and to journey in life with this fearless sort of attitude that believes that the mysteries that are around us are not to be feared, but rather they're part of the story. And so it's like this idea of journeying deeper into the mysteries, right? To understand things so that you can understand that the way things play out, sometimes it's not the end of the story, but sometimes it's opening up new energies in the story. Does that make sense? It's this idea of being an observer as you look at things fearlessly, and to not allow fear to sort of play a role in the story, but sort of seeing everything as being part of the path, even the things that we don't understand, and trusting your intuition to lead you down the path that makes sense for you, right? And allowing that to be your guide, and always being certain. Pile 2 is about the truth. You are on the pathway of understanding the truth about yourself. Pile 1 seemed to be more transformative, but there was an element of truth in that reading as well. But it was more about transforming motivations in pile 1. Pile 2 seems to be really diving into themselves in 2022 to understand the truth about things that may appear to be fears or mysteries outside of your, outside of sort of the concept you have of yourself, and that reclaiming your power to understand that, just like the Queen of Swords, you can sort of get down to the root of things, and there's nothing to fear here. Okay, now interestingly, the love message you received was flirt. Extend your light-hearted energy to others. To me, I take this as the message as it comes in, as there could be an opportunity for you to sort of extend your energy to others in a loving, flirting way this year. But I also take this message as the idea of raising your vibration and the idea of seeing things with a light-hearted energy, being light-hearted as opposed to being really fearful, right? Like, isn't being lighthearted the opposite of fear? To me, it is. And the idea here of travel has come up with respect to what your life purpose or career could be doing or moving you towards. There could be some travel involved for you this year in 2022. And perhaps it's when you release your fear that all of this will sort of start to have movement. Because the travel card also makes me think of this idea of movement into authenticity, movement into truth, perhaps physical movement like traveling, taking a trip, but also this idea of moving away from fear, right? That's traveling as well. Now, the yogic path card that you received is this one here, Chinnamasta, goddess of radical self-transcendence. Yes, you are waking up, and the experience of radical pleasure of letting go is starting to happen. This card is really related to that Kundalini primal energy, could be rising for you. This is a time to transmute fear into a lighter energy, okay? Fear is such a low vibrational energy. You are really being guided here to be your fiercest self. Your fiercest self. Look, she ripped her head off, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? Like, you need to be fearless. Pile 2, there is something here to overcome so that you can experience inner peace just by being yourself, right? By releasing that fear. This oracle message comes here to offer you love, right? You may have lost your head, it says here, in the pursuit of helping others, and it has left you confused, empty, and numb. It's time to set boundaries and to remember who you truly are. You don't need to sacrifice individuality to gain praise and acceptance. Instead, use this experience to go deeper into your truth, and you will come out the other side more self-aware and empowered than before. That is exactly the vibe here, is that you're needing to take a journey, almost traveling, as it says here, to become more in touch with your truth and to listen to your intuition and to sort of tell fear where it belongs. And it doesn't belong anywhere around you right now. You are almost at a place here, it feels like, where you're banishing that kind of low vibe energy, where you're not going to let fear rule you in 2022, it feels like. Pile number 2. Now, your Kabbalah message here, you received Hokima. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. There's the image on the card, and it shows you the tree of life here. Okay, this card is really linked, or this Kabbalah message here is really linked to imagination. Okay, this is the idea of the surrendering the feeling of lack, right? And to open yourself up to more creative influences. So surrendering lack, surrendering fear, surrendering all of those low vibrational energies, emotions, to trust your intuition. Gosh, this is like, how many trust your intuition cards can you get? Pile 2, you really need to be focused on what your intuition is saying to you and connecting with that creative flow, right? On an emotional, physical, and spiritual level, not just one. You know, it's all encompassing here. You're really being encouraged to sort of connect with yourself in a way that doesn't deny your truth, your innocence, your power. You're being guided to dive into those mysteries of life and to look at them without fear so that you can free yourself from anything that doesn't serve you. It's really about connecting with your intuition here to understand the inner essence of your soul and to let your imagination soar. I feel like pile 2 is afraid of that. And perhaps you are afraid of that because you're not sure what will happen if you unleash your power of imagination and intuition. Perhaps you're more comfortable sort of sublimating that with fear and boundaries, instead of saying there are no boundaries, there is no fear, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to take this inner journey, you got that travel card, and I'm going to be lighthearted about my perception of the things that are mysterious to me, instead of being afraid of the things that are mysterious to me, and to empower myself to the point where, I can rip my own head off. So it's this idea here that you are a very powerful being that can conquer your fears. You have the ability to use your intuition, your imagination, and your energy in a way that can make you almost impervious to fear, because you trust yourself so much. Wow, I'm going to leave it at that for you, pile 2. Connecting with your intuition and releasing fear, reclaiming your power, letting that imagination soar. Beautiful messages for you, pile 2, for 2022. If this has resonated for you and you would like a personal reading, my email and a listing of the readings that I'm offering currently are in the description below. And as always, thank you so much for liking, subscribing, and watching. And we'll see you again very soon for another reading. Sending you lots of love and light, my friends. Hello, pile 3. If you selected pile 3, then this is your reading. Okay, let's see what cards you received. The other 2 piles have been very interesting. Let's see what pile 3's messages are all about for 2022. You got a couple of extra cards when I was shuffling. 2 cards came out of 2 decks. So you've got double for 2 different decks here. Okay. Let's have a look. All right, I want to start with the archetype card. You received the shapeshifter archetype here, which says here, for the light attribute, you have a skill at navigating through different levels of consciousness, an ability to see the potential in everything. That's the light attribute. The shadow attribute suggests there's a projecting any image that serves your personal agenda in the moment. So instead of sort of tapping into consciousness, it's sort of like the shadow attribute of a shapeshifter would be someone who is able to just sort of pick out anything that defends their agenda in the moment, instead of really just speaking their truth, even if it doesn't defend their agenda, but just acknowledging the truth by sort of seeing the potential in everything. It's an interesting dynamic. So shapeshifter makes me feel like there's something going on here where you need to be wise with how you use your mind. And you've received here the pig spirit, use your mind wisely. So it's interesting to see these together, because really it's either you have a skill at navigating through consciousness, or you have a skill at just picking out what serves your agenda in the moment. Either way, you need to be using your mind wisely, because regardless of which one you pick here for shapeshifter, if you're in the light or the shadow attribute, there's something to learn in both, right? It's an interesting moment of self-discovery here, where you're being guided to use the power of your mind wisely. And it's interesting because you did pull the High Priestess as your tarot card. And the High Priestess is really about the idea of these intuitive hidden feelings, right? This mystical influence that connects you to the divine. So being receptive to your inner guide, right? And sort of seeing what's beyond the obvious, which is what I feel like we're saying in the shapeshifter, in that in the shadow attribute, you're sort of just picking things that defend your perspective, whereas the High Priestess embodies that light attribute of the shapeshifter, where she sees the truth here. It's a passive energy of the High Priestess, because it's sort of, it's something that you can choose or not choose. It's not always going to come through depending on how you resonate, right? You could be blocking this by sort of choosing to sit in the shadow of realization rather than in the light. It's interesting. You could really sort of have some secrets from yourself here, which remain in the shadows, which is, I think, why we're seeing this, because it's really a time for you to go within here to understand your potential and to understand how to use your mind wisely, right? Like how to tap into things through your divine connection and through your mind, through your intellect, to really decipher what is going on here. What are you doing? Are you shaping things so that they serve you, or are you looking at things as they are and sort of seeing the potential in everything, right? It's a very interesting moment where, are we picking and choosing what resonates, or are we sort of looking at the whole experience and taking a look at it? It's interesting. I feel like this could be coming at a time where things are not moving smoothly. I feel like there could be some resistance or bumps in the road. And I feel like you're being guided to tap into your emotional and your creative essence through the sacral chakra card here, the Lumerian Oracle deck. The core of you that creates is you're being guided back to this. So I feel like that could be happening, and that maybe things are, it's like I have this feeling like you're trying to get things moving and they're not moving because you're not tapping into your truth, right? And I think that's why you're getting this card. The situation will improve. So perhaps in 2022, things are going to improve for pile 3 as long as they sort of tap into the truth about themselves and not stay hovering at the surface where you're sort of not taking it all in. Now, the Archangel card you received here, again, I have such a hard time pronouncing these words. Sakulaf, I want to say. There's the image. This is the angel of verdancy, which is a time of sort of, I think of it as an abundant nature time. So you're really being guided here to connect back into the nature of things and let your roots take hold again into something true and authentic. I feel like hearing the message of letting your roots take hold makes me think that right now, again, you're looking at things on the surface. You're not looking at things beyond that. You're looking at them at the surface, and as at the surface it looks very thin, right? Like it's as thin as this card, but really when you expand it and look at it head on, you can see the full meaning of this card. You know, it's not a thin meaning, but when we look at things on the surface, that's how we sort of walk away with the impression, right? And so for this archangel, you're really being guided to crave life again, and to spread your seeds again, and to be creative, and to sort of be intoxicated by the open air and the sunlight, and allowing that to recharge you, to really tap into nature here and to feel the blessings that are all around you. And I feel like that is an important message for you, because I can't help but shake that you're being guided back to nature and your creative core here at the sacral chakra, because you're needing to reconnect. Somewhere along the way in 2021, perhaps you started to look at things very 3D, right? Like really just looking at things, and maybe it was because it was a very stressful year. It was a very stressful year for some people, and perhaps pile 3 experienced a lot of shift and a lot of stress, and that there was moments where you couldn't really be so attentive to looking at whether or not you were sort of going through the levels of consciousness. I think you probably weren't. My feeling here for pile 3 is that this is coming in now this year. That last year was a time where you were in maybe a place of denial of the deeper level of consciousness, and that you were sort of sitting in a place where you were really feeling the 3D world in a dense, very dense way. And so you're being guided back to nature to really put your roots back into this world so that you can see beyond the surface. Your Kabbalah card is really suggesting the same thing. You received the Ayin, which to me is a very feminine energy here. And it is one of spiritual development. And sometimes it's guided by others. So you may be seeking out a mentor or even like a peer group that is able to help you understand your own spiritual development a little bit more. Again, I can't help but shake that pile 3. I think out of the 3 piles, probably experienced the most hardship or sort of problematic experience in the past year. And that now we're looking at the realm of possibility in the new year. And it's almost like seeing insight into the unpleasant things in life and seeing the meaning in things that appear to just be problems. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like that is the message for pile 3. It really feels like a time where you're being guided to really reconnect with life in a way that is more spiritual than before, perhaps, and one that will allow you to sort of have guidance as you need it. But to also be discerning about that and sort of not accept things just because someone said so, but does it resonate with you? You know, does it resonate with you? Do you it's almost like you need to take time to contemplate messages instead of just accepting them. Does that make sense? It's very interesting. I feel like this could be a year of career change for pile 3 as well. And I feel like it could lead to a lot of options, particularly in art. And I say that because of a few reasons here. We've got for your angel career cards here, life path, we received artist and options. And then also in the love one, you received finances and career. So finances and career are showing up for you here as being a major theme. And I feel like you could be shifting into a more artistic, creative, connected sort of job, career, way of earning a living. I feel like you're shifting into that mode of a deeper understanding of everything that is happening. You also received the wedding. So that makes me wonder if, as you bring alignment into your spiritual development and into your levels of consciousness that you're able to sort of tap into instead of staying at the surface, that could bring in a partner and a wedding. This situation involves marriage, is the message on this card. And I feel like financial issues are a factor in your life right now, and you could be shifting into something that resonates more for you, and it might have to do with something artistic, something creative, something that you have attached meaning to but haven't expressed it yet. And I think it's because it was just too dense last year. It was too dense. 2021 was too heavy and dense last year, so you couldn't really make any movement happen. But I feel like that's shifting for you this year, pile 3. Now, the yogic journey card that you received here, the yogic path, is Kapha. And this is the grounding. So again, putting your roots in, grounding. You were being connected back to grounding down. I feel like you need to really find a way to connect back into this life, right? And to not see it as just a mess. Like, you've got to find a way to connect back into it. And I think that connection for you, pile 3, involves your creative abilities and your artistic abilities and your ability to see past the surface, to look beyond the surface, to see what is beneath all of these themes that caused you to feel so maybe like running around trying to put fires out all year. You know, that's the energy I'm feeling for you. And I feel like you need to ground into this energy here. Now, the message on this card says here, has the earth's energy left you feeling heavy? Again, yeah, it's time to shake off your kapha rut. You might have gotten too comfortable where you are at home, in your career, your relationship, your life goals. It's time to try something out of the box here, and to do so in a way that's anchored in your life force here, and to embody your wisdom by anchoring into the earth, and to find that inner peace again. Right? And the idea here that I love about this card is just to remember to never become too attached to anything, because everything is temporary. Everything is temporary. This idea of this too shall pass applies to the moments that are pleasant and unpleasant. Nothing is permanent. Everything passes. Everything transforms. Everything becomes something else, because we're constantly evolving, and the energy of the earth is always evolving as well. And so there is something here for you as far as a message of envisioning something that will bring you contentment and stability. What is that for you, pile 3? I am feeling like it's something creative, something that is artistic and creative, that is something you do. You just do this, and you need to do it more. It's not something I feel like it's something that you do naturally, actually. It's something that you have a natural talent. It's like a divine gift that you haven't tapped into because you've been so busy running around in 2021 trying to put out fires. But really, the fire that needs your attention is the one in your belly, is this sacral chakra fire. It needs to be ignited again. And I feel like you are being guided towards the idea of controlling your thoughts with this pig spirit, to use your mind wisely, because I feel like it's running. Like right now it's running and running and trying, and you're defending it, with this, there's this, yeah, things are needing to shift. You're not resonating with where you are, and you're being guided to ground down, to revitalize yourself. The earth can take it, right? And to reconnect with what makes you feel alive. What makes you feel alive, pile 3? That's where you need to be. That's where you need to ground. And I think that's where you're going to find a partner here. You could be getting married in 2022. I feel like the finances and career are going to shift big time for pile 3. This is beautiful reading. I'm going to leave it at that. If this has resonated for you and you would like a personal reading, my email is in the description below, along with a listing of the readings that I currently offer. And as always, thank you so much for liking, subscribing, and watching, and we'll see you again very soon for another reading. Sending you lots of love and light, my friends.